The arena was loud. Giant screens showed battles from across the galaxy. Every seat was filled. Thousands of aliens, from different worlds, were screaming and laughing. They were ready to watch another weak species fail. That's how it always went. In the center, bright light shone down on a circle of steel. It was the place where new species were tested. The council called it a trial, but everyone knew it was a show, a brutal game, a punishment for daring to join the galactic stage. Most new species didn't survive even the first fight. The ones that did were made slaves or tools. The council enjoyed the fear. It gave them power. Today's victim was called humanity. A tall alien with silver skin, a warlord from the Threx Dominion, stood in the ring. He held a plasma axe and wore armor made from bones. His voice echoed in the arena. "Bring the next weakling. I will make this fast." The crowd roared with laughter. Then the doors opened. A single human walked out. He was average in size. No armor, no shiny weapon. Just an old combat uniform, scratched and worn. A simple metal helmet. He held something strange. A long black weapon with no energy core. The laughter grew louder. "That's it?" someone said. "Where's the real fighter?" "They sent a farmer," another one joked, but the human didn't react. He walked slowly, calmly, and stopped right in the center. He looked up at the alien warlord. His face showed no fear, only focus. Then he smiled. The warlord stepped forward, confused. "You smile before death?" The human didn't speak. He raised his weapon. The match started. The warlord rushed forward, swinging his plasma axe. His steps were heavy, loud, deadly. The human didn't move, not until the last second. He dropped low and rolled aside. The axe slammed into the ground, sending sparks flying. The crowd gasped. The human stood up and fired once. The sound was sharp, not like plasma. It echoed like thunder. The warlord dropped his axe and fell to one knee, blood pouring from his side. Silence. The crowd stared, frozen. The human walked closer, calm, cold. He looked at the alien struggling to breathe. Then he spoke for the first time. "We don't run." One more shot. The alien fell, lifeless. A new sound filled the arena. Not laughter, not cheers. Just silence. Confused silence. A council member leaned forward in his seat. "What kind of weapon was that?" he asked. Another answered slowly. "Primitive. Projectile-based. No energy use." "Then how?" No one had an answer. The human walked out of the arena without a word. Later, in a private room, council leaders met. They watched the replay, over and over. "He didn't use advanced tech," one said. "He moved like he's done this before," another said. "Send someone stronger next time," a war general barked. This was luck. But an old observer shook his head. "No, that was training, experience, planning, and most of all, control." The council paused. Control? In the arena? No one had shown that before. They reviewed files on Earth. Small blue planet. History of war. Billions of deaths across thousands of years. Weapons that burned skies. Machines that ended cities. One file caught their eye. A human general once said, "We trained in peace, but we were born for war." The council grew uneasy. The next match was scheduled. A different alien, larger, faster, meaner. But for the first time, the arena wasn't loud. It was quiet. Whispers spread across the galaxy. "They sent one human." And he didn't blink. He smiled. In a far-off sector, a small alien trader sent a message to his family. "If you ever hear the word human, don't laugh, run." Back in the arena, the human waited, alone, ready. Not because he wanted to fight, but because he didn't like bullies. He looked up at the empty sky above the arena and whispered, "Let's see if you laugh again." The next fight was set. This time, they were sure the human would lose. Across the galaxy, the news spread fast. A human had defeated a Threx warlord in one shot. No one could believe it. Some called it fake. Others said it was a lucky moment. The council didn't want to take chances. So for the next match, they called someone special. Commander Graal of the Shar Empire. Twice the size of a human. 4 arms. Claws like steel. A champion with 47 kills in the arena. Inside his chamber, Graal watched the replay of the humans. Fight. He growled. He's fast, clever, but small. He bleeds. He dies like the rest. But deep down, he wasn't sure. The arena filled up again. This time, the laughter was weaker. Aliens were talking quietly. Some were looking at the door where the human would come from. Then it opened. The same human walked in. Same outfit, same helmet, same quiet eyes. He still carried that strange old weapon. No upgrades, no armor, just him. Graal entered from the opposite side. His heavy steps shook the floor. The crowd roared again, but it wasn't joy. It was fear hiding as noise. Graal pointed one claw at the human. "This is your end," he shouted. The human tilted his head. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe it's yours." The match began. Graal charged fast, faster than the last fighter. His claws swiped through the air. One hit could rip through steel, but the human didn't run. He moved just enough. A step back, a lean to the side, a small slide to the left. Graal missed every strike. Then the human ducked and slammed his boot into Graal's knee. It cracked. Graal roared in pain. Another dodge. Another hit. The human wasn't just fighting. He was studying. He learned every movement, every habit, every weak spot. Graal grabbed a metal bar from the wall and swung. It hit the human in the shoulder. He fell. Blood stained his sleeve. The crowd gasped. The human got up slowly, wiped blood from his lip, smiled. "You hit hard," he said, "but you think slow." Then he fired. The first shot hit Graal's upper arm. The second hit his foot. Graal screamed, but the human didn't go for the kill. He walked in circles. Calm, waiting, watching. Graal roared and charged again, but his body was broken. He was slow now, wild. The human dodged one last time. He didn't shoot this time. He grabbed a piece of broken metal and slammed it into Graal's face. Silence. The giant collapsed. The human stood above him, bleeding, tired, but still in control. He looked up at the council's box. "No more testing," he said. "We don't fight for fun." Then he walked away again. The arena was silent. In the council chamber, panic was growing. "How is this possible?" one shouted. "They are supposed to be primitives," another cried. A new report arrived. Earth's military history, updated. Wars that lasted years. Survival in cold, hunger, radiation. Fighting in space. Deserts, jungles. Humans had trained in every condition. But worse, humans never stopped learning. One council member whispered, "They're not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest, but they never stop. They never break," another added, "and they are not afraid to die." In a small lab on a council ship, a scientist showed something shocking, a human brain scan. It lit up during battle, not just in fear, but in excitement. "They don't run from danger," the scientist said. "They grow in it." Now fear spread. A decision had to be made. One council leader said, "If we keep this going, more will die." But another replied, "If we stop now, they'll know we fear them." In the shadows, someone else made a quiet call. An assassin group was hired to kill the human before the next match. But they never returned. Only a message arrived. Target escaped. He saw us before we moved. One line was added at the end. He said, "Tell them I'm just one. Earth has millions like me." And then the galaxy began to worry. The arena was no longer a game. It had become a warning. You said. The lights in the arena were dim. No music played. No laughter echoed. Something had changed. Everyone felt it. This was not entertainment anymore. It was fear. 3 days had passed since the humans' last fight. The galaxy had seen the recordings, millions of times. Some said it was fake, others prayed it was. But deep down, they all knew. It was real. Now the council wanted to test something deeper. Not strength, not skill, but fear. They prepared a new match with something different. Not a warrior, not a weapon, but a monster. A creature bred in secret labs, built from pain and rage. It couldn't be reasoned with. It didn't feel fear. It didn't understand mercy. They called it Zarn. It had killed over 100 beings in trial runs. Even machines couldn't stop it. The plan was simple. Release the creature on the human and watch. In a high tower, council members watched the arena. One of them whispered, "Let's see if he still smiles." The door opened. The human stepped. In again. Same helmet, same eyes. His shoulder was bandaged, but his steps were steady. Calm. He looked around. The arena floor was different now. Dark stone, metal spikes, broken ground. A trap, not a battlefield. He knew something was wrong. Then, he heard it. A deep, low growl. Another door opened across the arena, and the creature stepped in, 10 feet tall, thick black skin, long claws, a jaw full of metal teeth. No armor. It didn't need any. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't blink. The human didn't move. He stared at the monster, studying. Quiet. Still. The monster roared and charged. The human ran. Not from fear, but to study movement, speed, patterns. He slid between rocks, used broken spikes to block the path. The monster slammed through everything. Faster, stronger. It didn't care. The human took cover behind a pillar, breathing fast. He looked at his gun. Just a few bullets left. Not enough. He waited. Listened. The creature's steps were close. Then he stepped out. Fired one shot to the eye. Missed. Fired another. Hit the shoulder. No effect. The creature roared and smashed a pillar. Stone rained down. Dust filled the air. The human coughed but kept moving. He grabbed a loose chain, ran past a sharp metal beam, tied the chain quickly, made a trap. Then he waited. The creature charged again. The human fired one last shot, not to kill but to guide the beast's path. The trap worked. The chain pulled tight. The monster stumbled forward, and the human jumped. He used his full weight to slam a sharp spike into the back of its head, screeching, thrashing. The human held on. The creature tried to shake him off, but the human wrapped his legs around the neck and kept pushing. Finally, silence. The monster dropped to its knees, then fell. The human rolled off, gasping for air, covered in blood and dust. He didn't smile this time. He looked up at the council box. "You call this a test?" he shouted. "You send monsters instead of warriors?" One council member leaned forward. "You survived." "Barely." The human nodded. "You think that scares me? We've seen worse." He pointed to the body. "Pain doesn't stop us. Fear doesn't stop us. We don't fight to win. We fight to survive." Then he turned and left the arena. In the control room, silence again. One officer played back the last part of the battle. Slow motion. Another whispered. He used a trap. He used his body. He knew he might die. "Why didn't he run?" someone asked. An old soldier from the archive answered. "Because humans don't run. They adapt, even in chaos." Back on Earth, military leaders watched the footage. They didn't cheer. They only said one thing. "He did well, but next time send 2. The message was clear. Earth had more, many more, and they were watching now. In the shadows of the galaxy, fear grew. Not because of what the human did, but because he bled and still won. He was not the strongest. He was not the biggest. But he was human. And that was enough to make the stars go silent. The council was no longer laughing. The arena had changed. What was once a game was now something else, something dangerous. 3 matches. 3 wins. 1 human. The other species had noticed. They watched carefully now. No one joked anymore. Some leaders called for study. Others whispered about danger. One race, the Devarn, refused to believe the fear. They were proud warriors. Giant, beings covered in natural armor, 4-legged with sharp horns. In their culture, emotions were weakness. Their leader, General Korvax, spoke in front of the council. "You are afraid of a soft-skinned creature with bones like sticks? We will crush him. Let us fight next." The council allowed it. They needed the Devarn to believe, to see. Inside his cell, the human sat alone. He was silent, cleaning his weapon, checking the barrel, sharpening a small blade. His body ached. Still healing, a robot came to his door. "Your next fight is ready." He stood, no anger, no fear, just readiness. He walked into the arena again. This time he saw the change. The seats were not full. Some feared him. Others avoided the blood, and some were simply watching. On the far side stood Korvax, the Devarn war hero. 7 feet tall, bone armor covering his back and chest. His eyes glowed with hate. He carried a heavy energy hammer, charged and humming with light. The human stepped into the ring and stopped. Korvax growled, "I will enjoy crushing your tiny body." The human looked at him and nodded. "You might." The match started. Korvax charged like a tank. The ground shook under him. His hammer smashed into the floor where the human had stood just seconds before. But the human had moved, sliding, ducking, weaving. He fired 1 shot. It bounced off Korvax's armor. No effect. He fired another. Same result. Korvax laughed. "Your toy is useless." The human didn't respond. He threw a flash charge to the ground. Bright light filled the arena. Korvax roared and swung blindly. The human moved behind him, climbed the armor plates on his back, and stabbed a small blade into the neck joint. Korvax screamed, reached back, and slammed the human into a wall. Blood spilled, bones cracked. The human didn't get up. Gasps echoed through the arena. For a moment it looked over. Korvax walked forward, dragging his hammer. "You're done," he said. The human coughed, laughed softly. "Not yet." He pulled something, small from his belt, an old explosive charge. With a shaking hand, he threw it under Korvax's feet and pressed the trigger. Boom. The blast was small but focused. It knocked Korvax off balance. His leg armor cracked. He fell to one knee. The human stood again. Bloody, limping, barely breathing. He picked up a fallen spike from the arena wall and ran. With a scream, he slammed it into Korvax's broken leg joint. The Devarn fell completely, howling in pain. The human climbed again, pulled out his last blade and pushed it deep into the other side of the neck armor, where the bone didn't cover. Korvax collapsed, still alive, but broken. The human didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He stepped back, looked at the crowd, and raised one bloody hand. Then he walked out again. No music, no victory call, just silence. In the council tower, alarms had started to ring, not from outside, from within. Reports showed rising fear across the sectors, small rebellions, species asking for protection from Earth. The council tried to calm things, but one advisor said, "It's too late. The fear is already moving." Another showed a secret report. Earth's response to the games was no longer quiet. Human ships had started traveling. Quietly, slowly, observing the outer colonies. "They're not hiding," the report said. "They're watching us." Back in the medical bay, the human lay on a table, chest rising and falling. His body was broken in many places. A nurse droid tried to give him rest. "You should sleep," it said. The human shook his head. "Can't." "Why not?" "Because this isn't a fight," the human whispered. "This is a message." The droid paused. "A message to whom?" The human looked up, eyes cold. To everyone who thinks we're weak, that night a hidden signal was sent from the arena base. It reached Earth in seconds. Message received. And far above the stars, human fleets began to shift. Silent, shadowed, moving into position. Because if one man could shake the galaxy, what would happen when many arrived? The galaxy no longer saw the arena as a sport. After the fight with Korvax, everything changed. World leaders started canceling their arena programs. Some stations refused to broadcast the humans' fights. Fear was spreading like fire, but the council still didn't accept it. They thought one human couldn't break thousands of years of order. They thought wrong. Inside his cell, the human sat in silence. A new scar ran down his arm. His ribs were still taped, but his eyes? Cold, focused. He didn't ask questions anymore, he just waited. This time, the council decided to send 2 champions. Not warriors, not monsters, but assassins. Deadly, silent killers from the Ilzari, a species known for their stealth. These creatures didn't fight face to face. They poisoned, disappeared, and made death look like an accident. The council smiled. Let's see how he handles fear in the dark. The arena was prepared with traps and shadows. Lights were dim. Fog machines released thick mist across the floor. The human stepped in slowly. No crowd cheered. Just cold silence. He saw nothing, just walls and fog. He didn't call out. He didn't move fast. He crouched low, checking the floor, scanning the walls. He knew. This wasn't a fight. This was a hunt. And he was the target. Somewhere in the shadows, the Ilzari moved like ghosts. No sound, no light, just death waiting. One dropped behind him, blade raised, the human ducked, instinct, muscle memory. He twisted and kicked backward, sending the assassin into a wall. Another one lunged from the side. The human blocked the blade with his forearm. Pain shot through him, but he held on. He punched the creature's throat, then slammed its head into the floor. But the first assassin was back, silent, angry, fast. The human pulled out a short-range flare and struck it on the wall. A burst of white light lit up the fog. The Ilzari hissed. Their eyes burned in the sudden light. The human didn't hesitate. He moved low, slammed one into a spike, then ducked behind cover. Breathing hard, he checked his wounds. Blood. Again. He was bleeding every time now. But he was still standing. One of the assassins jumped down from above. The human rolled, grabbed a broken piece of metal, and jammed it into the attacker's chest. It fell. The other one tried to run. The human chased. No mercy. He tackled. It pinned it and slammed its face into the floor until it stopped moving. The fog began to clear. The human stood in the center, blood on his hands, cuts on his face, but alive. The council stared from their high platform. No one spoke. One of them whispered, "He's not just surviving. He's learning." Another replied, "We sent shadows, and he lit fire." Down below, the human looked up. He raised 2 fingers, then made a slicing motion across his throat. It wasn't a message of victory, it was a warning. Later in the briefing room, secret council leaders met in panic. "This is getting out of control," one said. Another added, "He's not fighting for glory. He's testing us." A third, one leaned forward. "And what if he's not the only one?" Silence. Then they got the report. Earth had just activated something. An old signal, simple, cold. Status, Watcher in position. Phase 2. Begin. The council had no idea what Watcher meant, but their systems showed strange energy readings near the edge of the known sectors. No ships, no lights, just presence. And that was enough to make some of them leave the room. Back in his cell, the human sat again. Eyes closed, arms resting. The same droid nurse from before entered. "You should be dead," it said. "Maybe," he replied. "Why do you keep fighting?" The human opened one eye. "Because you keep asking the wrong question." "What is the right one?" He stood up, slow, tired, but strong. The real question is, what happens when we stop playing? At that moment, somewhere far away, in space, a cloaked object moved for the first time in 1,000 years. It wasn't a ship, it wasn't a station, it was something else. And it had only one word marked on its hull, in faded Earth letters: vengeance. And now, it was waking up. The galaxy was changing, but no one wanted to say it aloud. Some called it fear. Some called it respect. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. They had pushed too far, and now, the silence before the storm had arrived. The human was still alive, still fighting, still winning. The arena officials had stopped announcing his name. It didn't matter anymore. Everyone knew him. They called him the Ghost now, because he never spoke much, never smiled, and never lost. The council was desperate. They couldn't kill him, not directly. That would make them look weak. But if they stopped the matches now, the galaxy would. No, they were afraid. So they tried something else, not a warrior, not an assassin. This time they sent a beast, a creature called the Zorax, 10 feet tall, 4 arms, engineered in a lab for war. No thoughts, no mercy, just rage and power. It had never been beaten before, not even once. The human walked into the arena again. His limp was worse now. One eye bruised, a deep scar across his side. He had stopped healing properly. The fights were taking their toll. But his hands were steady. The arena lights turned blood red. Then they opened the cage. The Zorax charged out, roaring. The sound alone made the walls shake. Even the cameras trembled. The human didn't move. The creature ran toward him like a storm. One punch could break walls. One step crushed metal. At the last second, the human dodged sideways. Not fast, just right. The Zorax smashed into the wall behind him. It turned and roared again. The human pulled out 2 shock blades, short, weak against armor, but sharp enough. He didn't attack. He circled. He waited. The crowd was silent. The Zorax charged again. The human jumped, slid under its legs, and cut behind its knee. A small hit, but it bled. The Zorax screamed in rage. It swung all 4 fists wildly. The human got clipped, thrown into a wall. He coughed blood, but stood again. Again he circled. Hit, move, dodge, cut, bleed. It wasn't a battle. It was slow destruction. The human couldn't overpower the beast, but he could outlast it. He bled, too. His chest was crushed, his arm dislocated, but his eyes were still locked, focused. The Zorax slowed. It was confused. It had never felt fear before. The human wiped blood from his mouth. "Tired yet?" he whispered. The Zorax charged one final time. The human ran forward too, but instead of attacking the beast, he slid past and stabbed both shock blades deep into its spine as he rolled under. The beast froze, then collapsed. The arena lights went black. No cheering. No music. Just the sound of a broken human breathing. Hard. The council was silent. One of them finally spoke. "This cannot go on." But it already had, because something had changed. That same moment, all across the galaxy, strange messages were appearing on systems. Screens flickered, alarms rang. No viruses, no attacks, just 2 words. Still, watching. At the edge of known space, a massive object decloaked, blacker than space. No lights, no signals, just presence. A patrol fleet saw it first, then disappeared without sending a single message. The council sent a probe. It never came back. In hidden bunkers, old beings remembered Earth's past. They whispered stories that were banned. Stories of humans who didn't forget, who didn't forgive, and who built things far worse than anyone expected. The council tried to hide the truth. They failed. One by one, neutral worlds disconnected from the network. They said, "We won't join a war against them." Some council members began to resign, others tried to run, but one message appeared on every private channel. You laughed at us, you called us weak. Now remember this feeling. Back in his cell, the human finally collapsed. The nurse droid rushed in. You need surgery, you'll die. The human coughed. Then let me die. Why? The droid asked. Because they won't learn until we give them something to fear. Suddenly, the lights in the station flickered. The ground rumbled. A silent alarm went off. The station AI spoke. Unknown vessel approaching. No ID. No signal. No response. Massive in size. The droid turned to the human. What is that? The human smiled weakly. That's not a rescue. Then what is it? He looked toward the ceiling, eyes full of something deeper than hate. That's the reason they're running. And outside the station far above, the black ship known only as Vengeance waited, without a sound. The black ship above the station didn't send warnings. It didn't broadcast messages. It simply existed. And that was enough. Its name was Vengeance, but no one had built it for revenge. It was built for one reason only: to be remembered when all else failed. The Council's warships surrounded it in fear. Their captains shouted orders. Defense grids powered up, missiles locked on, but they didn't fire, because Vengeance didn't move. It didn't need to. Inside the Council chamber, panic spread like wildfire. Some screamed, some ran. Others just stared at the live feed of the silent giant above them. It's just one ship, someone said. No, another whispered. It's a message. Far below, in his broken cell, the human lay weak, barely breathing. The nurse droid tried to inject him with stabilizers, but he grabbed its hand. Stop. You'll die, the droid said. The human looked up at the ceiling. If I do, they'll understand. The nurse droid paused. Understand what? That they never should have laughed. Then everything changed. Across the galaxy, power. Grids failed. Screens turned black. Council stations lost contact with each other. Then, every device lit up. Only one video played. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't edited. It was a clip. A clip from the human's first day in the arena. A broken man. A bloody nose. Surrounded by cheers from species who thought him weak. Then it showed the battles. Korvax defeated. Assassins crushed. The Zorax fallen. It ended with the human collapsing alone. No help, no thanks, just silence. And below the clip, a final line appeared. Now you know why they ran. Council leaders begged their systems to shut it down. They couldn't, because Vengeance wasn't hacking them. It was connected to them. Built long ago, when humans were still part of the Council. A secret failsafe, a forgotten project hidden in shadows. Now awake and angry, back in space, Council ships finally opened fire. Everything they had, missiles, lasers, EMPs, all at once. But the black ship remained untouched. Every blast simply disappeared. One by one, the enemy ships lost power, then drifted, silent and dead. Vengeance didn't fire a single shot. It just watched. Inside, no one lived. No crew, no command. It was fully automated, powered by a deep human grudge stored in ancient code. And now, it had chosen a final task. Deliver a warning. The arena station received a direct transmission. The human's heart was failing. He was on the edge, but before he passed out, he heard the voice of Vengeance speak into the station. Not robotic, not angry, just calm, cold, human. This was never a game. Then came the light. A soft glow wrapped around the human's body. The walls shook. His cell door opened on its own. The nurse droid blinked. What's happening? The human's voice was faint. It's calling me home. In one final breath, he stood. Slowly. His body broken, but his spirit unshaken. He walked out of the cell toward the shuttle bay. Vengeance lowered a platform. No guns, no guards, just an open path. The galaxy watched in silence as the humans stepped aboard. And then, The black ship vanished. No warp trail, no explosion. Just gone. The council tried to recover. They built new ships, made new laws. But it was too late. Because fear had already taken root. Species who once mocked humans began to lock their doors at night. Armies trained harder. Scientists searched for other forgotten Earth weapons, but they found nothing. Because humans hadn't left anything behind except a memory of a bleeding fighter who never gave up, and a ghost ship that never needed to shoot. Some say the human died on that ship. Others say he became part of it. But one thing was clear. The laughter had stopped, and in its place came silence. The kind of silence only humans could create. Because when they stopped talking, when they stopped smiling, you had already lost. And somewhere deep in the dark edges of space, the black ship still waits. Not for war, not for peace, but for the next time someone forgets why they should never laugh at a human again.